Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Super Battle Golf. Now if you're not across it, I do overviews on this channel. It's where I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game that's a Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time. I agree, as a rule. I would say 20 hours in, probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. Short punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes, and then you can make up your mind on your own. Further to that, we ran a little experiment on the last new release video, the Star Trek one, and that thing is going absolutely gangbusters. Because all I really did was just ask, dear loyal viewer, if you could chuck a like or a throwaway comment. A lot of people literally writing throwaway comment, just engaging with the video, full stop, and see what happens. Well, turns out it's one of my top videos in a long time. So I would ask if you could do that again. I know a lot of you passively watch in the second monitor and you don't really interact because you're normal people. I would appreciate you helping continue this experiment and making my channel explode. Anyway, Super Battle Golf. This game is an absolute slapper. I'm having a great time. It is interesting though because I go a little bit into these a bit apprehensively. Party games in general are a little bit tricky to cover on this channel with my format, you know, getting a whole bunch of people together, herding the cats as it were, just to get a little bit of footage. You know, it's a whole rigmarole. And again, a lot of these party games are very situational, they're very throwaway. You know, you'll play it once every couple of weeks or something, have some beers on Discord or whatever, right? And then you've got another layer to it as well, where there's a lot of this friend slop crap, which I've been quite vocal about. I've gotten some pushback, but I still stand by it. I find these $10 performative games that are more like a little stage with sandbox props for you to dance in front of your friends to make it funny. I'm not really big on that, flooding the game space. But in amongst it all, you have something like this. This reminds me more of the party games of the Dreamcast era, which, you know, the best console ever, full stop. There will be no conversation on this. And that's where you would have actually interesting and innovative ideas, but they go the next step where they are realized as well. They are turned into an actual interesting gameplay loop. And so that's the core of what makes Super Battle Golf really cool and fun. In many ways, it's a melding of golf and Mario Kart, of all things, and it actually has a few negatives carried over because of following that blueprint, which we'll get to. But this could have just as easily been one of those slop games. Hey, let's just screw around and be idiots and make funny clips for TikTok. But instead, there's a really fun game underneath, and it's all mixed together with the chaos of a party game. I had a couple of different sessions over the weekend. I only had 4 keys initially, so that we were playing 4-player, and that was fun. However, the game really shines at 8, and in the end, I just sort of bit the bullet. We took our 4 stack and opened it up to the public. And, you know, we had a rotating door of dropping in, dropping out players over the course of it. It actually worked really smoothly for something that is peer hosted. Like, I was the host of the session, but there were no real connection issues or anything like that. Like, absolute smooth multiplayer, pick up 8 players randomly, and, you know, hopefully it maintains that momentum, because 8 players, even just randoms, is where this game shines, and that's what you want to play it as. I'll talk about some of the mechanics a bit, and then we'll come back to the 4 versus 8 issue, because the truth is, a lot of people are conditioned to play these games 4-player, you know, multiplayer games, so getting 8 mates together is unreasonable. It was unreasonable for me, and I play games for a bloody living, right? And I had free keys as well. But that might actually be the secret sauce. You get a bunch of your favorite mates, your 4 blokes together, and then you just open up that lobby, and people, you know, random 1-player dudes will start filling in, and hopefully you get something going from there. So at its core, you're doing a kind of golf race, and there's a score system which is arcane, and we cannot figure out parts of it, but we've seen occasionally, like when you score at the very end, you'll get numbers pop up over your head, but the camera cuts away so quickly, the only person that really sees it is someone else watching you. But like, there were speed bonuses as well, so there is an incentive to kind of race, but there's also incentive to go a bit slower, because stroke limit, a la golf scoring in general, is a consideration as well, such as knocking other players out with gadgets, or you can just hit them with your golf club. That also gives bonuses. In the more immediate play loop, it gives you a speed bonus, which is actually really big. Movement, you know, locomotion, and trying to catch up and pass each other through the course is huge. But I might be getting ahead of myself. We'll roll it back, and I'll just explain how it works out. You host a match. There's 3 different biomes, and they have 9 different holes in them, you know, 27 total maps. You can just random it up, or you can do it by biome, or you could do like a 27 long run, but we found 9 holes was fine. That's the default, and you can pretty much just set go, right? The reward system is a coin system that goes into cosmetics, from your golf club to dancers to clothes and that, and it's very Sea of Thieves, and I kind of really enjoy that sort of reward system in a game that doesn't have internalized like growth. Like an RPG plus 10 strength or anything like that, you know, gear and loot and that sort of crap. So you'll do a run. When you finish the run, you go to the golf house in the free lobby where everyone can just stuff around, and you can go and buy more cosmetics. I think that's fine. That's perfectly fine. And a lot of them are gated behind achievements and that as well. So, you know, you achieve something, you can unlock it and then buy it and show it off with your stupid hat or whatever. Anyway, so you go into a round. It seems to shuffle up the holes that you pick. So you've got your playlist of 9, it'll pick one of them. It does a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and there is a Mario Kart-esque boost, and I'm still not super clear on what dictates. Someone was suggesting that it might be the fastest person to swing, because as you can imagine, you have to line up and warm up your swing. You know what I mean? You got to hold it for a second or so before it releases, and that's very Mario Kart boost, but I'm not convinced that that's how it works. I think it might actually be distance traveled, like in a certain order. But anyway, there is some way to get a speed boost off the mark. So it's ready, set, go. Everyone swings. You pick up Mario Kart-esque items boxes along the way, and you can carry them between rounds. So there are some that are just devious, like a air horn that you blast in people's ears, and if they're winding up a shot, it just forces them to belt it, and if you overcharge a shot and belt it too hard, it will like curve. There's no real wind or anything like that. It's still fairly arcadey, so your shots are pretty straight on if you don't overcharge them, but you get an air horn in the ear and you'll just blast it and slice it in a huge curve. And sometimes people between rounds, they'll just blast the air horn straight at the front, so 8 people just belt their balls into oblivion. It's pretty good. And then you're off, basically. You're racing, you're trying to pick up items. There's all sorts of stuff. A lot of mobility and catch-up things, like coffee that makes you sprint, jump boots that make you jump, and the nature of just golf courses in general. Like, you can't swim in this. If you go out of bounds, you die, you respawn, and there's little respawn points along the way, right? So you'll just reset to the most recently unlocked one. So if you like die just before one, you'll get reset way back. So there is a lot of that rubber banding. I don't know how else to describe it, but it feels like Mario Kart. You might be in first place, but that also makes you public enemy number 1. Doesn't take much to knock you back to 8th. So you got locking on rocket launchers, you got bloody orbital lasers, which is super rare. Landmines are a little bit of a headache, and we discussed this actually, especially with the 4-player group. The thing with banana peels or traps or whatever from a Mario Kart-esque game where you can leave them on the ground, they work because there's a lap system. You know, you'll do like 3 or 4 laps because it's a racer. The problem with the landmine thing is if you're in first place and you're just drilling down landmines on narrow walkways where you have to go through, it acts as an item that can only really be used by the leader to enhance their lead further. And, you know, we talked about it, don't have a great solution, but it feels like they just took that copy paste from something like Mario Kart, but because you don't lap back around, the effect works out to be kind of really putting a finger on the scale for the leader. I found personally that when you played 8 players, that it was less of a problem because there's more people getting the rarer items from behind. So maybe you are out in first, but you've got 7 blokes behind you and they're all rolling items and they're probably going to get a rocket launcher that locks onto you, something like that. So from that alone, I would say best played 8 player, if only to balance the items appropriately. But anyway, to get back on track, you run along and you shoot your shots and you have a par time. You can mouse wheel to change the angle of the shot, and the power up meter actually moves really fast. So getting really precise, accurate timing is very difficult, along with balls bouncing and that sort of stuff. Getting a long distance chip is really tricky, but very rewarding. I think the best I got was 150 meters and I lost my mind. It was pretty great. But you'll get to a point where you're at the end and you can level it out and just putt. So you don't really change clubs, you just change the angle down to like 0 degrees, and you can press hotkeys 1, 2, 3, 4 for those angles. But for the most part, you're just trying to slice it at 45 degrees. It has a little readout that shows you the terrain along the line you're aiming on. I think that probably makes sense. So if you're trying to keep in the green, you'll see the green and you're aiming for your power meter. It all works really well. You hold right click to basically lock onto the ball and charge it up, and you can belt some other bloke trying to go for the perfect shot, knock him over, and then you get your speed boost to run past. You get all sorts of other things. You can get a golf cart as an item, and anyone can jump in them as well. We filled it up with 8 people in a full lobby at one point just to see what would happen. No achievement, sadly. But like if someone tries to run you over the golf cart, you could just flip the tables and jump in with them. What's another thing? If you overcharge, remember I said overcharging the shot is bad, it slices. Well, what it actually also does, if you're in a lower position, say you're in last place, you can use it to lock on to people. You can just beam them in the head with a lock-on golf ball. It's not super overpowered because obviously if you took a normal shot, you could probably fire it farther and more accurately and more advantageous, but it's one of those things you can use that to fuel a grudge. Which happens so much. The amount of times where I've got this rocket launcher, but I'm looking for the bloke that I can't remember who threw the first stone, but we've already killed each other 6 times each in this lobby, and I'm not going to shoot the guy that I should shoot that would help my position. I'm going to turn around and shoot the dude that I've got a rivalry with. So the game is working as intended, and it just becomes this mad dash. As soon as someone sinks their ball and, first place, it starts like I think a 20 or 30 second timer. So in those off chances where someone has a run where they really nail it and they chip at long range and get it in, that really disadvantages the rest of the table, and everyone's just panicking to get finished, because if you don't sink it in, you get 0 points. Even if you come 8th under clock and you still get the ball in, you get something. But yeah, that death timer is absolutely terrible and terrifying, and the amount of people at the final green, you got 7 dudes running around like headless chooks trying to figure out, oh, do I putt? Do I go for the shot? Do I stand in the way? Because you can intercept people's balls by running in the way, so you can sort of like kick it. You can't really hit it once it's stationary, but maybe it's about to go into this hole, and so you just run into it and intercept it with your body. It's great, but like I said, it's not a troll fest. There is capacity for trolling. We had a couple of people join that were trolling. They were just trying to be troublemakers and that, but people mostly ignore them, and they didn't get score, and they weren't on the scoreboard, and they're easily left behind. And as such, that they just leave the lobby and go away, right? So we had a blast. We kept coming back to it. It was a tentative, let's give it a go. Looking at it, maybe it's a slop game, but super pleasantly surprised, and that's why it's kind of important I put a video out there to tell you that if you look at it at first blush and you worry that it's part of that wave of garbage, right? It isn't. It's unfortunate that it's releasing in a time where that sort of crap is in vogue, but so it goes. But everything from top to bottom, and to do a full circle and show my age and my nostalgia and my touchstone, it does. It reminds me of things like bloody Power Stone and Ooga Booga and all these great games I played on Dreamcast. The color palette's lovely. I think all the character designs are really cool, and you get some real nightmare fuel customizing all the different heads and alien faces and single eyes and weird golf clubs, and the soundtrack is to die for. It's just really dinky and chippery and chirpy, and the whole package is just great. Ran smooth, great concept, fully realized, no hitches, no problems. And even though, I obviously got keys from the dev, it's $9 or whatever. So it might just be worth giving a go as a palate cleanse in between things. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there, as I'm clearly very impressed. And if you made it this far, of course, please do make sure you've chucked a like on the video, chuck a throwaway comment, literally write throwaway comment. I do not mind. You don't have to write me your life story or anything like that, but it seems pretty apparent that at least in current year, interacting with the video will, by the looks of it, make it go gangbusters. And I would kind of like that to happen. Anyway, let's leave it there. I'll catch you guys on the next one.